Personally, I'm battling three autoimmune diseases. Luke, my son, was diagnosed with autism. I was told a clot had actually moved and hit my brain. I could not do anything for myself. I could not even communicate. So yeah, while still in hospital, a second clot did go to my brain, but then I was later discharged end of February. So coming home, my life had changed basically in the blink of an eye. A lot of uncertainty. When I got here, I was excited to see my son, because throughout, of course, all I'd ask is, how is he and where is he? So when I got home and my son saw me on the wheelchair and the way I looked and the fact that I could not even say his name, my son rejected me. He didn't want to come anywhere close to me. Even as I was taken to my room now because they had to put me down. He didn't want to come anywhere close to where I was. And that was also the first time I was meeting the nurse aide who was coming to now stay with me. And I remember now later, we talked till to date, of course. She tells me that day when she saw me, in her head she knew I was dying soon. I don't know what people were saying, because I remember even when I was in hospital and people would come to visit, I'd see people crying. And in my but I can't speak, so I can't ask, Kwani, how am I looking? Where are people, looking so sad and in tears when they see me? But I guess I had the look of death also, because from the nurse, she didn't believe I would last long when she now came to start caring for me. In about August, I woke up one morning and I was all swollen. I'd actually had a brain bleed. And then come November, I was from being washed. And I was struggling to breathe. But I just thought, the way you're in the bathroom and the steam when the water is so hot, it can be heavy, and so you're struggling. But even when I was removed, I couldn't breathe, and it was getting worse and worse, as in you can actually feel your head becoming lighter and struggling to talk, although the speech was now a bit audible, but yeah, it was still not the best. And I collapsed again, and they called the ambulance. And this time Luke witnessed it all. He was in my room. By that time, of course, he had started now. Of course, he'd warmed up to me, and now he'd always be next to me in bed. So when the paramedics came in, they had to resuscitate me again in front of my son. And I was rushed to hospital. That is where I was told a clot had actually moved to my lungs. So it's a doctor there, because it was a different hospital, who felt it's not normal. He felt I was too young to have gone through all these clots and what was happening. And he was like, I was already on thinners. So it was not making sense why my body is still producing clots, and it's very aggressive, they're hitting the major organs. That's the first time when I heard the words APS, and then he explained to me what it was, and then they decided to do tests to confirm. So it was confirmed I have antiphospholipid antibody syndrome, And that is when I was told there's no cure, they can only manage the condition. So it was quite unfortunate that it took that long to get a diagnosis, because maybe, it would have been different. I don't know, but yeah. So from there, I've had more clots. I've had a clot in my leg. Then a piece, it's called DVT, deep vein thrombosis, and a piece broke and went to my lungs again. And I've had another clot again in my leg, but that one we managed to. It successfully dissolved without it moving further. But they're very painful. And it was at that point actually when I was the first DVT I had. That hospital again, the doctor saw, because the symptoms I didn't realize, but I'd get sores in my mouth, in basically soft cavity. And that's when that doctor told me, I think you have more than one autoimmune disease. And that's when they did more tests, and they found that I had 2 other autoimmune diseases. I decided, when I just had the second one, which was now lupus, I was done. I didn't want to know anymore, because I didn't understand why all this was happening. Looking at my son, because every time I went into hospital, it would affect him. He wouldn't go to school. And by then, the nanny we'd had for 10 years had left us. So we were getting new nannies. And I was scared. Every time I'd be admitted, I'd be like, can somebody please check on my son? Because, of course, being new, she might not know what to do or what he means, because he's non-verbal. But I thank God for the friends I had. I had friends who would take shifts to come and sleep here and check on my son when they come out of work. And they'd take videos and photos just to send to me, because the doctor told them that the disease is aggravated by stress. And the more she's thinking about, and worrying about her son, it's affecting her, And so they decided to do that, and I'm so grateful to them. As in, it's amazing that they would do this for me, just to let me have peace of mind, not to worry about my son. And so by the time became, at some point, the doctor started suspecting I had cancer because of some tests that we did, and I had to do some cancer markers. And at that point is when the talk of going into palliative care started.
How long ago was that?
That was in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And it's at that point, and I remember there was a church that was working with me, and the pastor had come to see me, and she was like, let's deal with one thing at a time. We know your biggest concern is, look, what would you like? So I was like, eventually whoever, because now I didn't have a plan, whoever would take my son, I wanted at least to ease the burden on them, in terms of, because he uses adult diapers, which are they're quite expensive. So I reached out to a therapist who used to work with my son when we were first starting out. And I remember asking her, I wanted you to help us try and potty train him. So she asked me what was going on, because she had already known that I was unwell. And I explained to her what was happening. And she, at that point, told me not to worry. And she actually offered, if anything was to happen to me, she would take my son and raise him as hers. So that kind of gave me some sort of, because it's somebody I knew, somebody I know very well. And I know she's got a special needs background, as in she's a teacher of special needs. She's been taking care of special needs people. So I knew he would be in safe hands. And so she would come. In fact, when I called her, she was not in the country. But when she got back, she came to see us. And she would make occasional trips just to bond. Because one of my biggest things, and I pray to God to this day because I know it is out of my control, I never want my son to feel like I've abandoned him. So I wanted it to be sort of like a very smooth transition where he's seeing her, but he still comes and he sees me. So we decided he goes into the boarding of the school where they'd have more interactions with her. And he did go. It broke me. It's the first time ever we've been apart for, other than, of course, the hospital admissions, being apart from him. I mean, being in this house and he's not there. And he came home. He was so happy, he didn't want to leave. In fact, the minute when he got home from school, he came straight to my room and he didn't want to even, because I wanted him to be showered and changed. He didn't want, he just wanted to stay by me. So that happened. Then Corona hit. Just before Corona, I'd actually organized a donation drive for the school, because I've always been an advocate for autism. I talk about autism a lot just to sensitize people on the different special needs that are out there. So I thought even this would be, it was his birthday, it was in March 12th, that was of 2020. And so I decided to honor his birthday and to give back to the lady, the school, that was, for all that they were doing, the sense of, that sense of security, that he'd have a place to go. We had this donation drive and I was overwhelmed at the support from people, because I just posted it on my social media platforms, just telling people this is what I'm thinking of doing. Anything would go. I asked the headmistress, give me your wish list. And I was shocked. Other people who, even things, like we got a bouncing castle, we got, what are they called, scooters. The kids had fun, hula hoops. And it was, the whole day ended up being, there was no class. And in my head, what I thought it would be just a break during lunchtime. I just asked the headmistress, can we have it from 12 to 2? And then everything goes back to normal. But it ended up being a full day of just the children having fun, enjoying. We got, like, the cooking company donated food. There was food for the children, and it was fresh. They considered the fact that, the kids have different dietary needs. We had Tipsy Bakery donating a cake. There was so much, and the children were happy. And I think that was the highlight for me. Since I got sick, for the first time, I think I felt like I have made a difference to the society, just making an impact to these children, just even if it's one day, even if it's 1 hour of them just having a bit of fun and enjoying and being treated like, any other normal child. So I think it was 2-3 days after that, then the government announced closure of schools, and so Luke came back home. So by that time, I'd actually not realized, but since January, my kidneys were being affected. So that's when I was told, because I remember when he came home, he got really sick. Let's look. Then he had a seizure. We had to be admitted. I had to go with him on my wheelchair because, again, a new nanny. He's nonverbal. I can't let anybody else. I have to be there. And having an autoimmune disease means you are on immunosuppressants. That means your immune system is deliberately being suppressed so that it can stop attacking you. And hospitals are the biggest hosts of all these diseases. So that's the last place you should, yes. But I had no choice. My son came first. So we were there. Luckily, the attending doctor was also quite understanding. He didn't keep us in hospital for too long. We got discharged and came home. So I got worse. So the doctors decided to revisit the story of palliative, which they had brought up. So it's at that point, of course, as we are planning with, I was saying, it's normally it's not one doctor. You have to, you see, because I've got now basically a heart problem. I've got, so there's several doctors I need to see. The psychologists were like, first, we need to make sure your mental state is okay, because we know the disease will just get worse with you being stressed. So what is the thing that stresses you the most? Your son. So of course, but unfortunately the lady who had offered to take care of my son was unable to anymore. So it was, now we need to look for a facility, an orphanage that can be able to accommodate my son.
When you talk about palliative care and an orphanage for your son,
Yes.
what options have the doctors given you?
What the doctors said and are still saying is, I cannot survive another clot. My body has been weakened so much by that disease. I hardly eat. Eating is painful. Sometimes the hunger pains are better than the pain I feel after eating. And so I would rather go through the pain of the hunger pains, but it relieves me a bit from the pain I would feel. Not unless it's something that I've really craved for. I can sacrifice. If it's something that I really love, like the times when I really miss biryani, and I will eat, then brace myself for the pain. I throw up even blood. I struggle to breathe. So there are times I have to sleep seated, propped up, so that it can be easier. There are days when I feel like, is this it? You know, when you get an abnormal pain or my heart starts beating very fast, I have heart palpitations, and I'm thinking, is this happening? My biggest fear is, because my son has this routine after his breakfast, he will come bursting into my room, jump on my bed, and jump on me and continue with his play while on me, crossing over me and back and forth. And somehow that would rock me to sleep, because I suffer from insomnia. I hardly sleep. So I'd actually fall asleep when he's now in my bed. But my biggest fear was the day he will come to do that and I'd be dead in bed. So the reason why we have to look for a place is because also for my peace of mind. We need to plan. It's an exit plan, basically. What will happen to look once I'm gone. No parent should ever have to think of that, but unfortunately, that is what is there for us at the moment, because we cannot ignore what is being told. It's a reality. All of us, one day we will die. But it's a different thing when you're dealing with a condition which you don't know. And you'll be told by many people who suffer from autoimmune disease, you wake up today and it is something new you've never heard of. I got tired of calling the doctors to tell them, now today there is this thing happening, what is going on? And unfortunately, you never get good news. I've recently been diagnosed with diabetes caused by the steroids that I'm taking. But it's a double-edged sword. I need the steroids to keep me going, but they're also affecting me. I'm losing my sight, and it's irreversible. And that is also a side effect of one of the medications that I need to keep me going. Yes. It was hard because now, of course, I needed a nurse. I needed a nurse aide, and I need a nanny for my son. So that means we needed to have two people in the house at the same time. And after my second episode in hospital, I lost my job due to on medical grounds. So it was not easy, is what I can say. But through support of friends and family, we've somehow managed a bit, but it's not easy. I cannot. The times I feel less of a mother, because when he's in pain, just the other day, just before Christmas, he suffered a massive seizure at night. And he was in his room. The nanny is new. She didn't know he had had a seizure. And he could not get up. He could not sit, stand, or walk. And he was just crying. The fact that I couldn't even at that time move from my room to his room, I thank God this nanny was just kind enough. She struggled and carried him. You've seen my son, he's not light. She carried him, brought him to my bed. And at that time, how I felt was, the longer I live, I'm doing a disservice to my son, because he's suffering because of me not being in a position to help him. It takes away, which people don't understand, because yes, you can have somebody who's helping you take care of the child, but ultimately it's your child. You want to be there for the child. You want to be able to make decisions for your child. But then I was now caught between my condition and now him. And I remember I had to call, because initially I just got him some medication from the chemist. It was not working. So I had to call, and an ambulance came. I really thank those people, because they were so nice. They tried, they gave him first aid that night, and they said they would park the ambulance just at the petrol station so that they're close in case he has, because normally when you get a seizure, there's a higher chance of getting another one soon after. And they stayed the whole night there. Then again, another friend organized for, because they were like, when the guys came, because a doctor came with the ambulance, when they came, they had said he needed admission, because I also, of course, called my doctor to tell, just, seeking answers. just to know what should I do. They were afraid it could be meningitis. So, of course, the initial feeling was he needs to be rushed to a hospital and he would need admission. But unfortunately, because of, again, the COVID protocols, he would be put in isolation. There's no way my son can be put in isolation. He's non-verbal. I cannot be able to now be in a hospital because my condition, of course, has gotten worse. But even in any case, even if I wanted to, the hospital would not allow. Then how do I trust a child who cannot tell me, Mommy, they didn't feed me, or Mommy, I'm in pain here? People who don't understand him, how do I entrust my child to them? So I had to make the hard decision of, I'll keep him here and let's try and see if a doctor can come and take care of him. So I thank God for the doctors because they did come. The next day he was put on broad spectrum antibiotics. And we still need to go back. We still need to go back for him to be seen by a pediatric neurologist. So that is still something planned on doing because they need to see the damage. He's now back standing and walking, but you can still see there's a bit of strain when he gets up. So they seem to think there's a problem with the spine, or there could be a nerve that has been affected.
So in your shoes, how does it make you feel to see that someone else is taking care of Luke and the same care is being extended to you?
It's difficult because we've been told a lot, as I've said, being called cursed or bewitched because of our situation. Can you imagine both of us being unable to talk when I lost my speech? I was on diapers, he's on diapers. I needed somebody to bathe me, dress me, do everything for me. So does he. We've been told a lot of things, but for me, actually, in a twisted way, I thank God for it because it gave me a glimpse into my son's world. We take it for granted, but these children are in a world of their own, where communication could be limited. But I got a glimpse, and I know that was one of the things I used to pray for. I used to ask God, I wish I could just understand a little bit of what my son goes through. And maybe this was God's way of answering that, because I know how uncomfortable diapers are. So I'm very careful, and I tell the nannies how I want him, prepared and treated so that he doesn't be in agony, because it's not comfortable. I can tell you that. Trying to understand him more, giving him more freedom, and trying to get to know him. Now I push more of that. I don't try to force him to do things that he doesn't want to do, because I remember I used to get really upset over very small things, because like bedtime, the nanny would come, the nurse would come and tell me, okay, I'm going to sleep, so I'm switching off the lights, and I'd get mad. I'm like, who are you to tell me when it's time for me to sleep? Those small things that you used to do for yourself that you can no longer do, of which I ended up now modifying my bedroom to accommodate and give me as much, even much independence as possible. If you look under my bed, you'd be shocked. I keep a lot of things close so I don't have to call out to somebody to bring for me or do for me the things I'd rather do for myself. So I try at the same, that has also taught me to look at my son and try and appreciate, if he doesn't want a certain thing, I don't force him to have it, So it gave me a different perspective. I always say it gave me a glimpse of my son's world. And for that, I'm very grateful for, and I would go through it again just to be in this position where I can kind of appreciate what my son has to deal with on a day-to-day basis. Despite, yes, needing all this, what has helped me also is my passion in what I do. So being busy, keeping myself busy has helped me not sink into too much depression. I'm dealing with depression. I will not deny it. Initially, I denied completely. I was not depressed. But now I accept I am depressed. And what has helped me cope with it was being able to do the work, because I'm trying to do a bit of branding on the side and recruiting. I was approached by a recruiting firm, which I assist in recruiting people for various positions. And I enjoy doing that because I'm making a difference. It's like getting your dignity back, having meaning, having purpose in life, because that is what I used to ask myself every day when I'd get home from work, like, what difference have you made today? And after being sick, I felt I lost everything. So even being able to buy for my son a cough syrup, money that I have earned, brings back that dignity to me. It makes me feel like I'm doing something, in as much as I said, there are times when I feel I have failed as a mom. My plans, actually, right now, I'm even thinking of, and we're working with a friend of a foundation where there'll be at least, the society will embrace more of these children. I don't want our story to just be that. I'm hoping this story is going to get somebody to start thinking, how many children in our society have special needs? And what are you as an individual doing about it? Because it's not just the people who are directly impacted by this. This should be a concern to everybody, What are we doing? Just like the way COVID has woken everybody up. Why isn't special needs being given that kind of attention? Because what happens to these children? We've seen situations where a parent is forced to tie a child to a tree for her to be able to go earn money. You're being tied like an animal. That child has feelings and that mother has no choice. It's very easy for the rest of us to look and point fingers at the mother, but she's doing the best she can with what she has. So as a society, what are we doing to help such a mother, such that she doesn't have to put her son through, because it breaks her for sure to do that to her child. She's not doing it willingly, but she's trying with what is available to her. So I just hope, my prayer is, first of all, that Luke will be able to get a facility that will accept him as he is, will take care of him properly. I know nobody will ever love him the way I do. Nobody will ever care for him the way I do. But I can only trust God to make sure and go before him to make sure that he'll be okay, even when Mama is not around.
I'll take you back a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned that the doctors recommended palliative care for you, and that made you consider an orphanage for your child in case you will not be around to take care of him. So how far are you with those plans?
We are still trying. It's not easy because what I do is I search on the internet. Of course, I've asked friends to help me. If there's an organization out there, and you'll be shocked, there are almost none that accommodate special needs. I've had, because I basically called, explain our situation, and then see if they can be able to come to the house to see us, see the child. And then, of course, I would want to go and see the facility for myself to know where my child will be. It's not easy, so it has affected my mental health. And one of the places was to call me back. And unfortunately, they haven't called. And with everything that I'm going through, I decided, let me be patient. But there is something a friend of mine is trying to work out. We're trying to see even if we can be able to find a way of even getting money to have like what do they call it? As in just keep money aside for Luke, such that whoever, because wherever he'll go, he will need to be sustained financially. So we're trying to work that out with a friend of mine who is actually a reporter for an American newspaper. We're trying to see how we can use what she does, because she's a photographer, to help Luke. So right now there's a lot of uncertainty, but I believe God will keep me till I'm able to, at least have a plan for my child. And even if that does not happen, I believe the people around me who've interacted with me, I have been openly sharing my wishes. So I'm hoping even if it happens before we have actually secured a place for Luke, that the people who are around me will pursue what I've been trying to.
Okay. I think, is there anything you feel like I've left out? I just want to sum it up.
I would talk about what I said about society helping. There's some things I'd want to bring up. There's my son and I have been kicked out of a church before, and I believe it's because of ignorance. And I don't believe the church would be the first place that would embrace, because it says in the Bible, in the book of Matthew, let the children come to me. Matthew 19:24. Let the children come to me. And so for us to have been kicked out of church, that broke me, because that was my solace. That was the place where I could go and be able to unburden everything that I'm going through, because I'm in my Father's hands. I'm an orphan, so God is all I've got. So I would say simple things like churches should ask themselves, in the whole of their congregation, they don't have people who have got special needs people. It's not about putting a ramp and having somebody do sign language that tells you've embraced disability or special needs people community. That's nothing. There are different special needs that might not be externally visible. So as a society, what are we doing about it? In the estate, as you're having a birthday party, do you go out of your way to make sure even that child who has got special needs has been invited? My son has never, in his 15 years, been invited to any birthday. And it's not that I don't have friends or family who have birthday parties, but he's just not invited. He might not feel that pain because he's not exposed to it, but as his mother, as a carer, those are things that, you'll not say anything, but it hurts, So even in your estates and whatever you're doing in church, in activities that you plan, as you plan them, do you put in mind that there could be somebody with a special needs person who would want to attend or be there with the special needs person, and have you provided the adequate environment to be able to embrace them? So I think we need to stop as a society. I know it's if it's not affecting you directly, you might not think of it. But right now, with this world of internet, we cannot really blame ignorance anymore. You should be aware. You should be able, kids are born very innocent. I've had a friend who came over and the child was scared of my son and started crying, and the parents started laughing at the whole situation. Then I was forced to hold my son next to me in a house where he's got the right to do anything. This is his place. But I was forced to detain him to make the other child comfortable, and that should not be how it is. He's in his safe zone. Here he should be able to walk up and down and do whatever he wants without. So what are we doing? What are we teaching our children? Also, the generation that is coming up. Are we making it a point of knowing them, that letting them know that they're different people in the society we live in, and we have to embrace everybody? So that's what I'd ask everyone, whoever would watch this, as an individual. What are you, what role, what part are you playing in making or in actualizing the embracing of the special needs society?
So guys, we've come to the end of our interview, and that is really intense. But you've heard her story, and she has expressed her wishes for how she wants her son to grow, even when she's not there. But she has also said that the things that make her feel her dignity is back is by working. She does branding and she does recruitment. So if you're out there and you need branding services, please contact her. We're going to leave a way for you to contact her in our comment section. If you also do recruiting and you need assistance, please get in touch with her, because she has also mentioned that she is trying to set aside funds that will act as security for when she's not there and her son needs to be taken care of. So on top of being able to provide for her son every day, she also needs to make sure that the security of her son is somehow guaranteed, if not fully guaranteed. So if you're out there and you are watching this video and there's a way that you can impact Charity's life, please get in touch with her or in touch with me, and let's make a difference. She's already asked us, what do you as an individual do about the special needs individuals who are within where you stay? So what do you do about it? And what are you going to do about it going forward?